Stu, welcome to Chamber Chat. It's great to have you here, my friend.
Hey, thanks, Trent, and thanks to Chamber for having me out to share a couple thoughts today.
That's perfect. So tell us who you are, who you represent, and maybe we'll get into what you do, etc.
Yeah, so I'm Stu Niebergall. I'm the president and CEO of the Regina and Region Home Builders Association. So, we supply services and advocacy on behalf of the residential construction industry and our members, here at the city, at the municipal level, at the provincial level, and our national association, the Canadian Home Builders Association, provides that advocacy at the federal level. So, it's really three layers of government that we're active with.
And we'll talk a little bit about your advocacy efforts, but in the meantime, how long have you been the CEO there?
I am coming up this year. I 15 years, so I've been actually doing this for a long time. I think actually out of all the CEOs of home builder associations in the country, I am now officially the one who's been in the position the longest.
You're the veteran. That's perfect. So tell us a little bit about how one becomes a member of the Regina Home Builders Association.
Yeah, that's very easy. I mean, if you're in the residential construction industry or affiliated in some way or form, we've got an application process you can find online. Just go to reginahomebuilders.com, click on join the association, or find out information about that. It's a simple application. It goes through our board of directors, and we usually can bring a person on as a member within 7 to 10 days of filling out that application. So it's quite an expedient process.
Well, so that's actually quite interesting. So, but you don't necessarily have to be a home builder. You can be a tradesperson, or
a tradesperson, a supplier. Even anybody related to the industry. So, for example, we've got insurance brokers, mortgage brokers, lawyers. Again, anybody who is in the has an interest in the residential construction industry in one form or another, has a connection to it. It's a great association to participate with.
So if you don't mind me asking, how many members do you have?
We're a little under 200 members.
Okay.
Mostly representing, again, the owners. So we have a vast majority of the land developers are members, and then a very significant amount of home builders and renovators, and then again, all the major trade partners and trade companies, within the industry. So it's a place to connect people within our industry. And then again, our main purpose as an association is really to make sure public policy decision makers are aware and understand the things that are affecting our industry. At the very same time, trying to facilitate opportunities for our members.
It's interesting because I've known you for a while, Stu, and you're certainly a leader in our community, and a leader by speaking out with City Hall, with the municipal level, of course, the provincial level, and then you had mentioned earlier even at the national level. Tell us about advocacy and how important it is and how you go about it.
Yeah, so advocacy is just, really the key function and one of the most important things that we do, because the things that our association gets engaged in shapes our industry, well into the future. Small things today can be very big things tomorrow in terms of how they impact the availability of land in our community, the regulations around home building or renovations, and then the costs associated with it. Like, if you want to bring it down to its just most simplest denomination, to understand how the three levels of government impact our business or our industry, it's really the municipality decides which part of the city newcomers get to live in, and they do that through their growth plan. you know. And then they decide what type of development taxes are related to the costs of building. And then, of course, providing things like, inspection through building standards and making sure national building codes are covered. The provincial government really decides for our industry, what type of development taxes and the rules that the municipalities can use. And the federal government, for the most part, decides which one of us get to be renters and which of us get to be homeowners.
Right.
And they do that through, again, their federal policies. So that's why we engage in all levels of government. Probably the group that impacts our industry more than anybody is probably the municipality.
Right. At the local level.
At the local level.
So you get involved when they're talking about their growth plan, like you inject yourself into that conversation, do you not?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah. We've got a really good partnership with the city administration. We've developed that, over the years, to really try to understand what they're trying to achieve, try to help them understand what our industry is trying to achieve, and then where there is alignment to take advantage of those opportunities for the benefit of both the city and the industry. And I think there's not, a better example of that, than just in the last couple of weeks. A couple of weeks ago, 2 motions were passed by City Council. One of them related to the Housing Accelerator Fund that changed the zoning, within our city. So, moving forward, a residential lot, will now be allowed to have up to 4 units within that lot. That is something we've advocated for a long time. If we're going to have more density within our communities, we then need to have places to put those buildings up.
Right.
Again, some of the height restrictions that were lifted by the city, again, allow, us to create that more gentle density within our community. Another good example of that was the backyard suite and and secondary suite programs. Up until this past year, it was other than a few very narrow places could you put a backyard suite into your existing lot.
Right.
Now today, it's as of right, really through all residential zones. So these are the kind of things that we advocate for. Again, it creates a really nice increased gentle density to our city. And ultimately, that's really important because, if we're going to have growth in our community, if we're going to continue to see a priority to attract more people to our city, to fill the jobs, to build our economy, etc., we need to place them somewhere. They need to live somewhere, right? And so, yes, we get a little bit more density. Yes, we get a little bit more height. But we really are in an environment now. We really can't say no to housing anywhere. And so, as a result, these are good rule changes that we support. But again, it's an example of the kind of work that we do.
So let's pick up on that, Stu. So that doesn't necessarily mean that we're increasing the footprint of the city, because some of that will be within the footprint or older neighborhoods, et cetera, correct?
That's exactly it. Right? So, Regina is in this amazing space compared to most other cities, and it really is our geography and our size.
Right.
When large cities like Toronto, again, have a lot of concerns around things like urban sprawl,
Right.
I was just reading with the Super Bowl that was just played last night. I mean, the city of Las Vegas, I think, has grown by 1 million people in the last decade. So again, where do you put all these people who are moving to your community? But because of our size, being a little under 300,000, as we approach 300,000 people, we've got this amazing people to grow out and up all
Right.
at the same time,
Right.
right? You know, and have all of those possibilities here. We don't have geographical constraints,
No.
yet there is benefit of having more gentle density within our communities. And our newest communities that were built in the city, I mean, they're the highest density neighborhoods.
Right. So the Harbor Landings.
The Harbor Landings, the Eastbrooks, the
Right.
Towns, the Westeras.
Right.
You know, yeah.
High density.
Higher density.
Higher, yeah.
Yes. Allowing more mixed use, which again, creates some great neighborhoods ultimately as they build out.
Truly, and housing, the organizations and the members that you have, when people are thinking about moving to a great city, that's one of the first things they'll look into, right?
Yeah, so we're in this really interesting place, as a city. Coming out of the pandemic,
Yeah.
Canada went on a building craze. It seemed like no matter where you were in the market, if you were in an existing house, you needed more square footage during the pandemic. If you were in a rental position, you wanted to go into home ownership.
Right.
Whatever it was, people wanted more square footage through wherever they were they wanted more square footage in their lives. So Canada went on this amazing building boom. Again, you add on the significant amount of immigration that's happened in our country, and we've ended up in a housing crisis.
Right.
You hear so much in the media across the nation. That hasn't been the case so much in Regina. We experienced a bit of that, but not to that same degree. And so as a result, Regina actually still has some of the most affordable
Right.
new housing in the entire country, some of the most affordable housing in the entire country, and even with the increase in rents that have occurred in the marketplace here, it's still below the national average. So we've got a real competitive advantage around housing within our community, and we just need to figure out as a city how to leverage that better
Right.
within the national scope, and as this competitive advantage of our city.
So tell that good story.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, people in Regina, I think statistically, have above average incomes than compared to most other centers in the country. We have some of the lowest housing costs. That means, on average, some of the highest disposable incomes in the country, which all go to the great lifestyle that we create for ourselves.
And we do, absolutely.
We do. Yeah.
So you brought up the pandemic. I just want to touch on interest rates. Mortgage interest
Yep.
rates have gone up substantially since our
Yes.
pandemic days. Your thoughts on where that's headed and how that's affecting your industry?
Yeah, so there's no doubt that 2023 and going into 2024, interest rates have been, the story. The Bank of Canada, the federal government will mostly talk about, those are for, external factors,
Right.
That are somewhat out of their control in the global economy. And there's no doubt, there's no doubt that's been a big factor. I think there's also been the issue and the item. I mean, we've raised an entire generation, certainly over the last decade, almost 2 decades, of exceptionally low interest rates.
Right.
So we've raised a generation on very cheap money, and people your and my age, understand that probably better than somebody who's been in business or entered the business world or home ownership in the last decade.
I'll stop you there. My very first mortgage was 18%.
There we go. Yes,
It was a long time ago.
But again, if you've been in a 3% mortgage and now you're at 6 or 7, that's real money. That's real pain, from that, and I think that needs to be understood as well. I think the bigger issue, on the advocacy side, related to housing, the federal government has really shifted its priorities around housing supply to the for-purpose rental market.
Right.
So, here in Regina and great for these businesses that are entered and engaged, in the for-purpose rental side. They are providing a really valuable form of housing, within our communities that is needed, and so that's good. But while the federal government is talking about meeting that need, we have to remember at the very same time that they have been going down that avenue of making rental type of buildings, much easier to put up.
Right.
They've made home ownership much more difficult to access. Right.
Interesting.
So it's, they've played it as a bit of a net zero sum game.
Right.
And so, we think that, that is, part of the missing policy that's happened, federally, in terms of the side of home ownership. And so we were exceptionally pleased with the provincial government this year when they brought back in the PST rebate on the construction of new homes, because it balances that a little bit off, and then adding the secondary suite and backyard suite grant of $35,000 per home. So again, it's some balancing to that story. Because the thing is, here in I think we all experience in Regina and Saskatchewan, we are very good. We punch above our weight in terms of attracting newcomers to our community. Yep. But we've always had the challenge of stickiness. How do we keep them here, right? And that's a very big, complicated question. But somehow, we feel home ownership is a part of that.
Yeah.
Right?
100%.
So, those are some of the things we think about. So, sorry, coming back to interest rates, where are they going? I think most pundits I follow, are suggesting we've probably hit the peak of interest rates, and we'll probably see, it's debated whether, you'll see them start to drop in April, whether it'll be this summer, whether it'll be next fall. But I think the Bank of Canada has signaled that it's not going to take rates higher, and we'll at some point see some easing. And because interest rates are mostly affected by the bond market anyway, you're already starting to see mortgages, that have decreased from their peaks. So again, that will stimulate. So that, along with the PST rebate, should stimulate some more activity in the industry in 2024.
So perhaps good news ahead.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you'll be on top of that. There's no doubt about it.
We watch it. Yeah. We try to stay on top of that for sure.
Well, that's great. Let me switch gears a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about Stu and your family, et cetera, and yourself, if you don't mind. Maybe fill us in on your family and how long you've been in Regina, et cetera, and perhaps what you like to do in your spare time.
Yeah, so, well, thanks for that question. I moved here in 1992.
Right.
That was a year when it seemed, I moved here from Alberta, and everybody was moving the other direction.
Yeah.
Right? I used to joke that I got the keys to the city for being the only person moving to Regina in 1992. And, what was funny back then is in Alberta, a lot of people are asking me, why would you move to Saskatchewan and Regina? What was worse back then is I got here, so many people asked me, why would you come here from Alberta? But this is a city that has just done nothing but provided opportunity for me and my family over the decades, and it's been a great decision to be here. Being in a city that's between 200,000 and 300,000 people offers tremendous amount of benefits, right?
Yeah.
And so, it's been great. So we've got 3 children here in Regina. They're all adults now. 2 are in university. One is working in the for a utility here. So and they've all made Regina their home, and we'll see what the future looks like.
And I know you and Patty like to travel quite a bit, don't you?
Do, yes. Yeah. Again, it's we've been exceptionally fortunate, Trent, over the years that we've been able to travel a lot. But again, part of that comes right back to the Regina advantage that we don't talk about enough here. That, you know, there are equity issues in our community, there's no doubt. But our experience was we were able to make good incomes, have a lower cost housing cost compared to people I know right across this country, and I've worked right across this country, and that just allowed us a little higher disposable income, which makes things like travel more accessible.
Isn't that brilliant? And I love how you put that, the Regina advantage. So one of the other advantages, and the last question of today, is the relationship with organizations like the Chamber. What's that do for you and your organization? Yeah,
you know, we've had a long partnership with the Chamber over the years, and you know, Tony here at the Chamber just does such a fantastic job. And, you know, I always feel like the relationship's almost more one-sided. Because the Chamber has always really been there for our association. I cannot tell you the amount of times that we've been in front of council on an issue that's very specific to our industry, and how many times the Chamber and Tony have been there to speak to those issues alongside, and because the Chamber really seems to understand that a healthy housing continuum, attracting new people to our community, which is the key to our industry, you know, is also very good for chamber members.
Totally. Stu, the city is better off having you and your family here, so thank you. Thank you so much for today. I appreciate it. All the best.
Excellent.
Chamber Chats is produced bi-weekly by Skycron as a service to the Regina business community. We produce many series, including the television series Go Nitro for NBC Sports, CBS, and Fox, as well as corporate videos, events, and live streams, all right here in Saskatchewan. We can do the same for you. If you have a video project for your organization, call us at 306-720-0097, and let's get started on your next project.